Welcome to Roots and Rebirth. Today you get two Terrys. Did you even know that was possible? Two Terrys, but also with two last names. I'm so excited to introduce you all to Terri Sharpley Reynolds. She is a Renaissance woman, someone who exudes joy, positivity, kindness, professionalism, and she will tell you like it is. This is going to be such a fun conversation where we talk about truly what it means to have rebirths time and time again, but each time landing on your own 2 feet so that you are grounded in self, purpose, and passion. Terri, it is such a delight to have you here today.
Hey, friend, I'm so excited to be here and chat it up with you. You know, I love our time together.
Oh my gosh, I feel like everyone is going to be at our dinner table where we're just like kikiing for, a time.
I love it. Let's go. Let's go.
Well, I want to start by sharing a little bit of your background, where you grew up, your family structure, just who you are. Like, what is your origin story?
I love that. I'm a small town Southern girl. So I'm from Hartselle, Alabama, small town in North Alabama, 2 stoplights downtown. You know, one of those movie scenes, small Southern towns is exactly where I grew up. My dad was a mailman and my mom worked at the bank. And, you know, one of the things that I think is central to my story is that I'm an only child. And my parents had me when they were really young in their early 20s. And so my mom always says that in a lot of ways we grew up together and
Oh,
we came up together. And so I was really close with my parents. My grandparents and my aunt all lived up the street. And so I feel like I'm a little bit of an old soul and always have been. You know, I spent a lot of time with grown-ups growing up, and I had a lot of time on my own as an only child growing up. And so, you know, a lot of the things that people know about me now, I really does go back to that childhood of small town, you know, around my elders a lot and growing up with, yes, I went to school and I had friends and things at school, but I also had a lot of time for self-reflection and purpose and to live in my own imagination. And I think those roots have really kind of driven me to where I am now and always seeking purpose and growth because that's just how I was brought up.
oh my God, I love that. I did not realize that your town was so small.
Yes, very small. And, you know, and it was a great place to be raised. My father was raised there. My mom grew up in the county next to where we grew up. And so it's concentrated with family and was a wonderful upbringing. But I will say, like, for me, I think I always knew that I would leave and that there was something out there that I needed to learn and explore just to find who I was. And so, yeah, when I walked across that stage for graduation, I was ready to go ahead and get out of Dodge City. It was a great place to grow up, but there was a world out there that I wanted to see, Terry.
It's kind of similar for me. So it's so interesting. So I grew up in Lafayette, Louisiana. It's not that much of a small town, but when, I now live in Austin, which is a top 10
Yeah.
population in the US city. So Lafayette feels so small. There was about maybe like 130,000 people when I was growing up. And I tell everyone, my neighborhood was kind of like the Cosby Show, So all of our parents were married. They all had jobs. Most of the moms were teachers or principals. My dad worked for a big company and he was gone a lot. He traveled a lot. So it's very similar. We had helpers. We had an incredible woman and her family, Miss Biagas and her daughter Tracy, who was central to our upbringing. They helped us with homework, picked us up from school. My grandmother, you know, picked us up a whole lot. She's 97 years old. I'm going to get to see her next week. But I too, and, I, for all, intents purposes, I was, one of the cool kids, was a cheerleader, captain of the cheer squad. But I never felt like I was like everyone else. I
Yeah.
always felt like I was a little different. And it never really dawned on me until later in life. A guy named Tony, who was captain of the football team and a dear friend, we still keep in touch now. He called me one day and He said, he's a principal in Madison, Wisconsin. And he said, I talked about you at a pep rally. And I'm like, what? That's just so weird. But he was talking about peer pressure and how, there was someone he went to high school with that never succumbed to peer pressure. She just kind of did her own thing. And when I look back, I actually kind of was on a planet of my own, And when I think of you in the context of the work that we do, because we've got to know each other in a professional setting, you are kind of the same. You are guided by a North Star. And even when others, see a bright light of the city, you are still following that North Star.
Well, first of all, that means so much coming from you. And I feel that way too. And in the story you just shared about your experience, like we are the same. Once again, it shows how similar we are because, yeah, I have always felt different. I've always had friends. But I've always just felt different and trying to find my purpose within this broader, beautiful world that we live in. And, the cool thing about that is I can't tell you where my life has peaked. I'm certainly riding high right now. All of these exciting things are happening professionally and with my family. And so I'm very blessed in that way. But when I look back over my life, like there's no real peaks. Like it's always a search.
Yeah. Oh, I just got goosebumps.
But that makes life really exciting because you know that there's always opportunity for growth and development, whatever area of life it may be. And I think for me, it's even more important because, growing up as that only child and kind of feeling somewhat isolated. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah, no, I
understand. Living within my own imagination and within my head. And that's just I'm an introvert that loves people. Okay. But at the end of the day, Terri's got to have her Terri time and her Terri.
Red sister.
Listen, all day, every day. But now, that journey of just learning and feeling and understanding my place within all of this. And, I am someone who's very spiritually driven and everybody has a purpose. And that's one of the things I think you and I connect on, Terri, is because when I meet you and talk to you, your purpose is so clear to me. And I see you living in your purpose. And so for me, as I meet people, that's what I want to get to the core to. It's like, what is your purpose? Why are you here?
Yes.
And because everyone has one and everyone's story is so beautiful. And I think now, I'm 42, I'll be 43 this year. And in this moment, am the most grounded in my purpose and why God put me here than I've ever been. And knowing that and feeling that opens me up to feel that and see that in other people too. And so, I just feel like I'm living in a place of light right now. And it has not always been there. And I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about our stories. It's definitely been a journey. But I'm just in a really happy place right now.
Oh my gosh. So before you got on for recording, I was talking to Mindy, who's the associate producer for this podcast. And I was like, I love my Terri time. I'll never forget when I first met you. And it was one of the first times we had a conversation. You were speaking to a crowd. And the whole time I was just kind of like taking it in. Then I turned to my friend. I was like, it's like I'm watching myself, like her choice of words, her being, like, it's just wild how much I feel connected to you. It's like a mirror. So everything you just said, I'm like, yes, girl, yes.
Love it. I love it. Well, let me say this to your audience. The first time I met you and how I met you. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but, this started through the NBPLA, which is a national organization for lobbyists, Black lobbyists. And I was working as the executive director and we were just getting it started. And you were in your previous role at Amazon and you didn't know me from Adam's house cat. Reached out and said, hey, I've heard about this organization. I want to learn more about what you're doing. And at the time, you were really looking nationally for organizations to support and help cultivate. And the moment we met, on a Zoom, I felt your energy. It was palpable, and just your excitement and enthusiasm about what you did. And I knew then, like, we're going to be friends. I don't know what the pathway is, but we're going to get there. And it was really an easy path to walk.
Yes. Oh
But
my gosh.
I just love that because the first meeting, it was very clear to me who you are and that you're someone who loves and invests in people and communities. And that's your purpose and your calling amongst all these other things that you do. But helping people and communities and organizations thrive and grow. So yeah, we're definitely kindred spirits. For sure.
Same. I've had a flashback of one of the first conferences in Birmingham, Alabama, and there was like 3 Terrys in the room. It was Congressman Terri Sewell, you and me, and I'm like, you guys, you just need to know, we're taking over, and we're all members of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority.
No accidents there. None.
No, just Godward. Hey friends, it's Terri. You heard me say that transformation comes from both roots and rebirth. And sometimes that means finding light in our hardest moments. That's why I'm loving Lumankind's Light Through Lost Mindful Mark Pack. These wearable reminders allow you to set an intention that will help you center, reflect, and rise. Treat yourself or someone you love. Go to lumankind.com and use code Terri15 for 15% off your first purchase. Because even in loss, light finds a way. So I want to talk a little bit about your professional journey. Now, I love the word levitate. I love the song by Dua Lipa.
That's the theme song.
Roots to Soul has another great, you will vibe out to that one. It's a new one. I'll send it to you. It will become like a little jam when you're working and you want to tune in and just really bang something out. But to me, it's no accident that the name of your firm is called Levitating because you ascend with every step you take. And you've had this incredible professional journey. I'd love for you to tell the listeners, where you got started and where you are now.
I absolutely will do that. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. And I don't know if I've shared the root of why Levitate is called Levitate with you.
No, not at all.
Okay, I'm excited to tell you that story because it's very personal to me. But now I'm a lawyer by trade and graduated from law school almost 20 years ago. And came out of law school in 2008 when President Obama was running for office and just really kind of got bit by that political bug. And so I started working on political campaigns right out of law school. And my parents were like, girl, you better go use that law degree and make some money.
Pay those bills.
Like, what did we just spend the last 3 years helping you through law school and you go to work on a political campaign? But that's where my heart was at the time. And I spent several years doing that, working on campaigns at the federal, state, and local government level. And I just loved it. I loved connecting with the communities and connecting with people. And, usually I was working for an elected official or someone who was aspiring to be an elected official. And there was a challenge there for me to try and understand, okay, what does this person need? And to feel whole and satisfied in this campaign that they're running, because when people are running for office, it's like you're incredibly vulnerable. Like you are exposing yourself to the masses for judgment, for review. You're being challenged and asked questions constantly. And so I really found a space and kind of being that backroom support to help people be their best selves in such a vulnerable state. And got pretty good at it. And I just loved what I was doing. But then, I kind of reached a point where, like, okay, working 24 hours and eating ramen noodles in between,
I know that life. Oh my God, you just gave me a flashback. I used to get my quarters in the roll and drive to Taco Bell for here as a lobbyist making 30 grand. I gotta go to Taco Bell with some quarters, y'all.
You gotta do what you gotta do when you gotta do it, And that life, I think for me, Terry, the point where I started to pivot was I was probably around 27-ish, where I was like, you know what? I don't know how much longer I can do this. It may be time for me to make a shift and just really focus on building something a little bit more stable, like being in one place. Because I was one of those people. I had 4 jobs at one time. I was all
Wow.
like, but I was having fun and was learning a lot. But I just reached that point where I was like, okay, it's time to start building some stability. And around that time, I met my now husband too, and he was kind of at the same place. And so I
Also, shout out to apps because you shared with me that you guys met on an app, which I think is great.
yeah, hey, we met on an app before meeting on an app was cool. Like, and
You're
we
always an early adopter.
Hey, listen, this was old school, like, people probably don't even know what Match.com is, but we met on Match.com, and it's really one of those stories that I had this shift. I was like, "Okay, I need a more stable life," and, I wanted to start dating. I hadn't been dating, and one of my girlfriends was like, "Why don't you get on Match?" I was like, "No, I'm not gonna get on Match, like, what if I don't know those people, what if they're weird? What if I get catfished?"
That was me a year ago.
All of the things. And she was like, well, let's just do it for a week. And so I got on, did a profile. Several of my girlfriends came over and we picked my pictures. And at the time I had just did the big chop. And so I had longer hair. I cut it all off and I was still kind of finding myself in my new look. And so we went, found all these pictures and we drank wine and we put the profile up. And Vinny was on there. He had just moved from Detroit to Alabama, and so
Ooh,
I was just
fresh
trying to get
blood, girl, fresh meat.
I had to go get him from the north and bring him down here, and I sent him a message, he sent me a message. We still to this day, we've been married for almost 12 years, and we still argue over who sent the first message, but we
Okay.
connected. We went on a date, and the rest was history. Like, I was literally on Match for about 4 or 5 days,
Shut up.
and Match.com, if you're watching and, endorsement, give me a call.
You're like, holla.
Yeah, come see us because we have a really beautiful love story and from Match. And so through that, coming down to Montgomery, which is where I am now, I started really tapping into my legal background for the first time. And so started working with like local governments and worked at an association here in Montgomery, learned a lot about county government and city government and really found a passion there. And then, went through some hard times with some personal loss. And that started the journey of me starting Levitate Legal. And so Levitate is me doing all of the things that I had previously done, working with elected officials, working with local governments, working with nonprofits, but doing it in a way that is authentic to me. Um,
Yes.
so it was a journey to get here, but now I'm here. And if you give me a point of personal privilege,
Yes, you go right ahead, sister.
let me tell everybody, let me give the context for why Levitate Legal is Levitate Legal and kind of what I mean when I say, we went through some personal things. Um, we have 3 children who are here, and we have one that we lost who's in heaven, Levi. And
Oh, forgot your baby's name was Levi.
Levi, yes, our first 4 letters of Levitate are Levi.
Oh.
And, we found out we were pregnant with Levi not long after we had just had my daughter, Nova. And, I was really nervous when we found out we were pregnant. I was like, this is really soon. What are we going to do? Are we ready for 3 kids? And, Vinny and I were just both apprehensive about this, but we're like, we're gonna do what we're gonna do and we're gonna make this work. And then Terry, at the second appointment, we learned that something was not quite right with the pregnancy. And I kinda
Um,
had a feeling that it just felt a little different. But my doctor was really candid that whatever was going on did not look like it was compatible with life. And I feel it now, just going back there. I
yeah.
fell apart because my first thought was like, and this is not logical, but I felt like this is my fault
Mm.
because when I found out that we were pregnant again, I did not immediately feel joyful, if I'm being honest. I felt fear and anxiety, and I felt like I was being punished for not appreciating this blessing.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I the next few months we found out that he had a condition, a genetic condition that caused his little kidneys to have cysts in them. And, we went to Johns Hopkins. We were back and forth. We were calling doctors in Wisconsin. I mean, we were just anybody that would talk with us. We were trying to figure out, like, what can we do to save our son?
And
Right.
I know people like you and me, like, we're going to fix it because we
Oh,
are
yeah.
problem solvers by nature.
Yes.
Oh, don't give us a task because it's going to get done.
And that's exactly what I did. And uh, Johns Hopkins, I think we went up there 4 or 5 times. We did these experimental treatments. We tinkered with moving up there so that we could
Wow.
have him there. And then they said, if you deliver him, he's going to have to be here for about a year. Maybe
Wow.
really trying to figure out how to make this work. And then Terri, we were, trying to land on what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And keep Xavier and Nova with some sense of normalcy. And the doctors called us and said, look, we can't let you do this. The doctor said, no, we're
Gosh.
not going to do this. They said the chances of this working are really slim, and we don't feel right about allowing you to uproot your life when we know that this probably won't save your son. And so that was like the moment where, somebody like me, we're the same. I'm not giving up. Well, what's next? Well,
Absolutely.
what other options do we
What
have?
month was this?
He was born in July. This was probably late April, early May.
Wow. So you were almost done at this
Yeah.
point.
Yes, and we were still fighting. I mean, I was visibly pregnant, and we hadn't told a lot of people. And so, like, for me, it was also dealing with being visibly pregnant and people being
Oh,
happy for me,
yes.
but me knowing, what we were dealing with and that we probably would not have much time with him. And so, he ended up coming. He was due on July 26th, and we were not supposed to travel. But on July the 4th weekend, I was just down and out. And I told my husband, I was like, let's go to Atlanta and visit with one of my friends there. Her father is a surgeon. Her aunt lives up the street. She was a pediatric NICU nurse for 30 years. If something happens, we'll be fine. But I've got to get out of here. And so we went there. And Terri, would you believe I went into labor while we were there? And we went to the hospital up the street from their house. And I still to this day don't know how this happened, but it was like we were the only people in the hospital.
What day was it? Was it like July 3rd or 4th? Do you remember?
It was July the 6th. And so it was 2 days after the holiday. Um, I didn't see any other mothers. I didn't hear a baby cry.
Oh,
It was almost like that was where we were supposed to have him. And so, he was stillborn. He was 7 pounds and 2 ounces, 8.5 inches. And I was at that point was almost 37 weeks. So he came about 3 weeks early. And, we just had time with him. My parents were able to get there. We were able to, we had him cremated and we were able to bring him home with us, which was very important to me.
yes.
But that day was really kind of the day that changed everything for
Yeah.
for me and for Vinny too. And, my grief, and I don't want his grief to get lost in my grief. Like, we both grieved together and separately. And it really kind of changed us from living to, survive to living to thrive. And like,
Yes.
to you're just gonna live and we're gonna do the things that we want to do and we're gonna try and serve others and we're gonna build a life for our kids and we're just going to live fully. And it was about a year after that that I left my job and started Levitate Legal. And
Wow.
it's so important to me because this business is how I honor my son that's not here. Giving to others, trying to help communities and organizations grow and thrive and help nurture other people's visions is my way of being able to nurture him and to keep his
Yeah.
legacy alive and what he means to me and what his life meant to my life and to Vinny's life and to my children's life, and to everyone who knows our story. And so, Levitate is not, it's a young company, but I'm really proud of what we've accomplished in such a short amount of time, helping cities and counties and nonprofits, kind of turn visions or ideas into big visions and then implementing those. And I sincerely believe that the success is rooted in that origin story.
Yes, and actually, there's something there I want to point out for you. So you use some language there that was past tense, and I see it in your being in words a little different. So I want to offer this up, and I'm going to go back to something a friend told me about when her mother passed, and it was a lens that I used through my divorce. So a friend who actually lives in Atlanta, she took care of her mother and her mother's last couple of years of her life. And, my friend's a little older than me. I think she might be 50, but her mother died. And she said, my mother died so I could live, so I could thrive, so I could see the world. She gave me freedom. And, so you can argue a divorce it comes with grief and death, the death of a vision you have for a life you might have together. And I felt the same. It's like, I told my ex-husband, you might not understand it, but I'm giving you freedom. I'm giving me freedom. So like we can truly be the people that we were fully meant to be. And so it's not lost on me that you tell that story. You're headed to Atlanta to celebrate the 4th of July, to get away, So again, there's this piece of Levi gave you freedom,
Yeah.
but I challenge you thinking of using past tense there because he is your co-conspirator every day in good trouble, right? He is there at your side, helping you ascend, helping you rise, helping you, with every client. So it is a walk that you do in present tense together every day.
Absolutely. That's interesting, and I didn't even hear myself use a past tense, but you're absolutely right, like, it is it is something that I carry every day and will always carry, and the grief is something that I will always carry, but it has evolved.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
where
getting, you know this, and this actually hasn't happened to me since since we started the podcast, but, so I'm actually channeling him right now. And so, oh my gosh, the feeling I'm getting in my body is unreal right now. And so what he's saying is he actually wants you to talk to him. So I think that, you should ask him for help when you're brainstorming until you get a block or when you get a win, like, he's there. So maybe put a seat for him or tell him thank you or talk to him. But he wants to have that moment with you so that you guys can celebrate and be a little more connected.
together together. I love that. I love that. Um, he's such I tell people that Levi, his purpose here was fulfilled. Um, and what I mean by that is in his 36 weeks and 5 days that I carried him, the way that he impacted the lives around him is more impact than I've ever had in my 42 plus years,
Mm.
right? Like he has and continues to help guide my faith walk because I got to a point during that pregnancy and especially afterwards when I was a basket case. And I'm not really the type of person that people will see being a basket case.
I understand that too, girl.
I was completely broken. I mean, completely broken. Like where the only thing I could do was fall to my knees
Mm.
and just surrender, like, control, because I had none. I had none. And now I can live in that space of not knowing exactly what's going to happen next, but trusting myself and my circle and my purpose and, the people that I know are with me, Levi, my dad, my grandparents, the people that had poured so much into me. I can walk knowing that because of Levi. I don't know that if I did not go through that loss, that all of the things that are happening now would be.
Absolutely. No, 110%. When I hear you tell this story, which I'm hearing in full for the first time, I knew you had a baby son named Levi because we have a mutual friend who also has a Levi. But I hear it as you got freedom so that you can live life in a different pace,
Yeah,
that you could be comfortable with what's around you. Also, freedom to express the loss, express the change, to fully be yourself and present, but also to step away from a job. Now
yeah,
you own your own business. That's a different kind of freedom.
yeah,
It hits different.
yeah,
And so, what I think the reason we're having this podcast right now is so that you are reminded that, you have someone that can help you behind the scenes who has your back that can help you create and continue to win. And so it's like, he's like, hey, mom, don't forget, I'm here to help. But you have to ask me for the help. You have to celebrate with me when it comes through. And you have to feel and see me around, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
this is just the beginning, friend.
I love that. I love thinking about. I think about him often, and I think about my dad often, and I think about them together often.
Yes.
But I don't know that I've thought about them as advocates for me in that way.
Your dad is delivering you, girl. You gotta start asking your dad to deliver some checks.
I don't.
The whole U.S. Postal Service system. He could deliver you anything you need.
And put them stamps on them checks, Daddy.
Yes. Okay.
I love that. I don't.
You should visualize it. Is if you get an obstacle, visualize your dad like bringing it to you and watch it come. I'm for real.
I've never thought about it in that way. Like, I think about when I have moments, I hear my dad's voice. When I'm with the kids and we're doing things, I see Levi there and I smile and I feel
Yeah,
his
because he
presence
probably is there.
in it. But I've never thought about them
Yes.
just being cheerleaders for me
Yeah.
and advocates for me in that way. Okay. Okay.
Yes, one of my favorite books is called Trust Your Guides by Sonia Coquette. And in her book, she says we all have spirit teams. And I'm used to having a team. I'm Catholic. I'm cradle Catholic. I got Jesus. I got God. I got Mary. I got Joseph. I got the saints. I got the angels. I, I got a priest that I can confess my sins to. I got Adam and Eve. I got a whole team.
Got a tribe.
I mean, they are a crew with a K because I'm from Louisiana. But your guides are also there and they're your spiritual team. And so you have archangels you can pray to. You have, your teachers that might come in for a moment. You have your family in heaven. And all of those people, they show up. I have this is a wild story. Actually, I've only told this story to maybe one or two people before. But I was in the Atlanta airport and I was kind of zoned out because it was a rough work week. And I was in a lounge, and that lounge, like two magical things happened because one time I had a great conversation with a member of Congress from Atlanta. Now her name escapes me. The nurse, her son was killed.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Lucy McBath. I had a magical conversation in that same lounge about Israel with Lucy McBath. But I walked in, I'm telling everyone hi. This woman comes up to me. She's like, baby, your name. She's helped me scan my little boarding pass because back like back then being like 2 years ago, y'all, I still needed a paper boarding pass. I'm just still old school. I wanted paper to scan. But that day she's like, Broussard, are you from Louisiana? I'm like, yes, ma'am. She's like, me too. She starts telling me how she's from Louisiana, all things. So I'm eating, because, in the Atlanta lounges, the food is on point.
Yeah.
Have my little cocktail, zoned out. I was working at Amazon, so I was like all the way zoned out and probably drinking a lot. And so she comes up to me and I'm like, I just hope I get an upgrade because I'm so tired. It's late. She's like, baby, the lounge is about to close. I know your flight is delayed, but let's pay attention because sometimes they leave early. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. I'm still zoned out. So she comes up to me. At this point, I know her name because I tend to call everyone by their names. And I had just finished Trust Your Vibes, or Trust Your Guys. There's one, Trust Your Vibes and Trust Your Guys. There's like two. She's like a series. You should read them all. But I just read it. And so not even thinking about the book. And so she's like, baby, your flight is boarding. You should go. So I'm like, okay, thank you. I run to the bathroom, get my things, walk out the door. I was like, thank you guys. Will you thank Miss So-and-so? She just came to tell me my flight was leaving early and I would have missed it. And they look at me with a straight face. Who? And I said her name again. And they're like, there's no one here by that name.
Wow.
She was a guide or an angel that was with me for that moment.
Wow.
And she got me on that flight and I was upgraded on that flight.
Wow.
That is a real story.
Wow. Yes.
So I sat there and at that point I was aware because I read the book and I thanked her, but quite often I fully believe, and some people in my family probably will think I'm crazy when I say this, but I hold both my religion and my spirituality as the same because there are days depending on what it is, what I lean into, but I hold them all the same. So when I pray or when I write in a journal, it's God, universe, my guides, my angels, my family in heaven. Like I'm writing a half a page of who I'm talking to before I get into what I need, But they're all here to serve us in some purpose.
I love that, Terri. Like I and you and I have talked about this, but I feel like part of my spiritual journey right now is kind of reconciling how God works in my life. And, I'm a Christian through and through. But then when I hear stories like that, think about moments in my life where, and, my cancer story is one of them.
Yes.
Like how there's no reason I should have ever known for another 10 years.
Oh my gosh, Terri, you have to tell people this story because it is unbelievable, but also it might teach someone to trust their intuition.
And to trust who's guiding them. Because, and I will tell that story, and you just said something that resonated with me so much, and that is when I think back about Bible stories and miracles and like how God works in our lives. And look, everybody has their belief system, and mine is based in Christianity, but we've seen examples of God working in people's lives through other beings and and miracles and all of these things. And so, I live on the Alabama River. I might not see the Alabama River part today, but
I know, right?
that may not be how we're seeing these
Man
things.
might not walk on it.
I'm not going to see anybody walking across the river, but I may have a moment like what you just described in Atlanta airport, or I may, for no reason at all, feel and know like something's not right in my body. And so I think you're absolutely right. Like no matter what your journey is, being in touch with your spirituality, whatever that means for everybody, and being rooted to the ground where you can have those moments and be so present where you really do feel what's going on inside of you and around you, it takes you to a different wavelength. And I think when you can kind of elevate those wavelengths, then things start flowing into your life that you didn't even imagine possible. Having my own business and making more money than I honestly thought I would make at this age, I didn't see the possibilities there. Now I see it clear as day.
Yeah.
And all these other possibilities. But let me tell the story of the cancer diagnosis because it even I still am processing and understanding it and appreciating the beauty in it every time I tell the story.
And
So
mark the time. Like, when did this start to where we are now? Because it's very recent.
it is very recent. So we lost we lost Levi in 2019, and then about six months after we lost him, my father had been diagnosed with cancer at age 26. I was maybe 6 months old. He was in the Air Force. They told him that he had 5 years to live, and my mom always tells the story that he told the doctors, "Doc, I got a baby at home. I'm gonna be here when you under the ground." And he lived 40 more years after that. But in 2020, he started having some digestive issues, and we found out his cancer had come back. His colon cancer had come back. It had been gone for years, and so that was kind of a new journey of having to face loss. And he fought as hard as he could. We found out I was pregnant with Savannah, my youngest, who's now 3 during that time. And he told me, like, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I'm here to meet her when she gets
Yeah. Beautiful
uh,
soul too.
beautiful. My dad is such an important part of who I am. And he he was close, but he passed in September of 2021, and Savannah was born in December. So her name is Savannah Irene Lee, and the Lee is named after my father. And so, we lost him, we gained Savannah, and that was hard for me. My dad was just really kind of a foundation person for me. Anytime I had a question, unsure of anything, that was the first person that I called. And so, dealing with how to live life without having that anchor there was heavy for me on top of the grief I was already dealing with. But Terry, when I was getting ready to turn 40 in 2022, and Savannah wasn't even 1 yet, and something was so heavy in my spirits, like, you gotta make sure you're healthy. Your father was diagnosed with cancer at 26. His mother passed from cancer at 58. His brother passed from cancer at 59. Like, this is something that's in your family. You've got these beautiful children here that need you. You've got to go to the doctor and make sure you're okay. And so I went to my general practitioner, told him I was like, "I'm afraid I might have cancer. Like, what can we do about that?" And he said, "Oh, we're gonna wait. You're fine. All your numbers are fine." And so I went to my OBGYN who walked with us through Levi, and prayed with us and guided us and gave us advice on what to say to all the doctors. And I told him the same thing. So he says, "All right, Terri, well, if you're worried about it, let's run it down. We'll start you on everything early." And he felt my neck and he was like, "You got some nodules on your thyroid." And he was like, "Most people have nodules on their thyroid." So he's like, "It's probably not a big deal. But since you're worried about it," he's like, "I'm gonna send you to get them looked at." And so we got them scanned. One of them was larger than the other. So they said, "Well, let's just be safe and go get a biopsy." And so we got the biopsy, and Terry, they called me back and said, "Hey, we couldn't get a final reading on that biopsy. We're gonna send it off." And I remember I told my mom, "I have thyroid cancer. I've got cancer."
Mhm. Your
And
dad delivered that nudge, you
I
know?
it
And
had it had to, like, there is no reason. I was perfectly healthy.
yeah.
I had no
I
symptoms.
know. I know. You look good, girl. 2019. You look
Thank you.
great. You look
You
great.
know?
You look even better now, but you were fine. I know.
Fine. I was living a great life, I'm trying to keep up with these kids and doing all these things, but it was so heavy on my spirit that, like, I've got to do this. I have to make sure that everything is okay, and it wasn't. But fortunately, we caught it early, and so, I had the surgery to remove my thyroid, and you actually said this to me, and I don't know if you remember this, but I literally lost my voice for about 4 months after that surgery. Think about, your thyroid is, like, through here, and so they're kind of messing around with your vocal cords and all those things, and so my voice was shot for about 4 months before it fully came back. And you and I talked, and you said, "This is just an opportunity for you to reestablish your voice." Like, literally.
Rest up because
Yeah,
after this,
it's
it'll be
it's
pretty powerful.
It's powerful. And I took that literally like, yes, I'm going to rest my voice because when it comes back, it will be stronger. It will be, more lived. It will be wiser. And all of those things have proven true. But when we talk about those guides and the people and the things that are pushing us in the direction that we need to go, I think about my grandmother who was so integral in raising me up until I was 10 when she passed. My uncle, my father, my aunt on my mother's side, my Aunt Jean, who passed of cancer. And yeah, I think of them saying, like, girl, don't play. Go on to that
No.
doctor. And this doctor didn't tell you what you needed to hear. You go on to the next doctor. He'll take
Yes.
care of you.
And just keep nudging you, you know?
Yeah.
I so this next couple of days are really special for me. I have this rebirth that happens a lot in May. So we're recording this on May 16th. May 17th, I lost my dog Fitz. Last year, it'll be a year tomorrow. My dad passed away May 20th of 2017. And then my birthday is May 24th. So there's this through line for me of death and rebirth, right? Because it backs into my birthday. But recently I was trying to discern if I needed to get a new car. My car was perfectly fine, 5 years old, 49,000 miles. You do not get rid of that car. Like you keep that, you know? Hit it in January, got it fixed. I was like, hit it again. Was like, dang it. I feel like I need to ask questions about this. Like, universe, God, dad, angels. Like, am I supposed to get a new car? Like, you know, the sweet guy that I'm dating, he's like, I think you need a car with 360 cameras. Like, it's time to update your car. The technology is so much better. And I'm like, you're right. But I kept just praying to my like, Dad, do I need it? Like, you guys tell me what I need to do. And then I saw some people in front of me, and it was just like, one, you need to pause and be fully present when driving. Don't let your mind wander off to the next thing. And two, yes, get a car because next time it might be a person. So I started doing like research, like, Dad, if I need a car, universe, if I need a car, I'm gonna need it to be like this amount of money, this color, blah, 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 blah. And it was like a black car, a white car, a dark gray car. And if it was white, it had to be pearlized. But pearlized white is more expensive than regular white.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm like, there ain't no way I'll be able to afford any of this, because I'm not trying to, I'm in the point where I just want to save. I'm focused on retirement. Even though I don't want to think of with a lens of scarcity, right? Because that can also block your blessings. So I start shooting off all these emails, text messages to car dealerships, thinking there is no way, I'm going to pay out of pocket and get this little car fixed, but to me it was either cash to get it fixed or cash for a down payment. Like, let's figure it out. So I go in deep prayer, meditation, send off all these things. I get a phone call back from, a particular dealership, and it's really where I wanted to get a car. It was the first nice car I had. My dad helped me negotiate. My dad helped me get the car. The car was actually like the same price as like my salary. So my dad had to like co-sign with me because I didn't have enough money for the car, but like it was the car I was gonna get, because my parents also wanted me to have a nice, safe car because I was driving a lot to the Baton Rouge Capitol. And so I was like, that's really where I want to get the car. And so I just go on a whim. I email the guy. I'm like, look, I don't have much time. I'm going to have to be done by this time. It has to be in this amount, like blah, 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 blah. I walk in, but of course, do they only have one in the whole state of Texas? And that is pearl white. And that is my price point. And, we go for the test drive and I'm like, Dad, I don't know if I should do this. Like, send me a sign, let me know. And I'm test driving and all of a sudden I'm like, hey, the problem is in my parking garage. I keep swiping the columns. Can we take this to my place so that I can test drive it in the garage and see if I feel confident? And I'm like, Terri Broussard strikes again. My car moves so with ease, like, Man, I came back, ran the numbers, weren't quite what I wanted. I looked at that man and said, you are insulting me. I gave you this and this is over both. So are you going to take this back and like figure this out? At least come down to where it's like, $95 instead of over the number I gave you. Walked out, boom, 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 boom. My car loan was upside down with the damage. They took care of that, like easy peasy. But
How was your
like,
car?
our dads are there to help deliver in the ways they best did, because my dad was the one I called every time I negotiated a car to tell him how proud I was or to double check the numbers. He was still there.
Yes.
Hi, it's me, Terri. Transformation doesn't happen by accident. It's a daily practice. And Best Self Co. gives you the tools to live with purpose. From guided journals to productivity decks, every product is designed right in my hometown of Austin, Texas, to help you dream bigger, reflect deeper, and take aligned action. Visit Best Self Co. and use the code Terri for your special percentage off. Your next breakthrough starts with one small step, and today is a beautiful day to begin.
And, when I think about our dads, and this is how I've kind of reconciled the loss of my dad, like right before he passed, Terri, Vinny and I just closed on a new house with Savvy. We were getting ready to bring Savvy home. I was still pregnant with her. Beautiful home, our pool, some of the things we'd always...
I remember this time like it was yesterday.
And 2 days before he died, he sent me some stainless steel pots. And he was like, Terri, you can't live in this nice house and have a $2 pot and pan set. So I'm sending you your first set of pots and pans for your home. And a few days later was when he really took a turn and we lost him. But one of the things I tell myself, and I think it's very true for you too, is one of the reasons our fathers were able to go rest is because they had done their work with us. We were ready. We were ready to be without them physically here. And we can still talk with them and connect with them and feel them.
But you're like making me cry.
It's so true. And I think about that often. My dad's birthday just passed. By the way, your birthday is May 24th. So is Nova's.
No way. I didn't know that.
Birthday is next Saturday.
I just forgot. And you have to go soon. We have to end this recording soon because you got to go celebrate this birthday at school.
I got to go. I got to get to my baby. But I do want to share this though, because it's so powerful to hear you say that. Like you all of the things that your dad instilled in you as a person, as a woman, as a professional, as a boss, like you're carrying those things. He did his work with you.
Oh, you're reminding me. Oh my gosh, I'm going to cry so hard I won't be able to talk. But this morning, and this, I just shared this with you, I found out that I'm going to be honored and sworn into, or I can't even talk. I'm going to be inducted into my university's, the LSU Manship School of Mass Communications, their Hall of Fame. My dad went to LSU. And he had, some unfinished things at LSU. He ended up actually not finishing school because he had to go and take care of his family and work full time. But he and I just had this love for school. And every time there was a new Mike the Tiger, we were like, on the internet waiting for the pictures. So thank you for reminding me that, that's his way of sending me a message that he's proud today.
I'm very proud of you. And you're probably, I know you are his greatest work and you're his legacy. I'm my father's legacy, and we're the legacies of so many people.
You know what? Before we started, I knew I needed to have tissue for this episode.
You have got me lifted and levitated today. These sorts of conversations, Terri, being able to talk about your feelings and be vulnerable in safe spaces is so important. It's so important for women. It's so important for women of color to be able to know, like, we have to operate in a world with our guards up so often. It is critically important that we all carve out safe spaces like this where we can be, where we can share, where we can cry, where we can feel. Like, I'm vibrating right now.
Yeah,
And
you're levitating, girl.
I'm levitating. I'm about to take this to a class with my first graders. I'm going to have them levitating. Like, it's a vibe. So
He's gonna play some Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa, and then Kendrick Lamar has a song.
Yes. I'm gonna send you Rufus to Soul. It's just beautiful. It's just like a vibe. Like, you're gonna just wanna like move.
I'm gonna add it to my playlist. We got a playlist. It's a thing. But listen, let me thank you so much for doing this, for having me on, for creating a safe space to talk about these sorts of things. We're creating a space for women and men and professionals and mamas and daughters and all to really explore our life journey from our roots all the way to our rebirth. Thank you so much for this. This is so neat.
You are such a joy. You know, I was telling Mindy before we started, it's so funny, like, people give you compliments, right? So people will always be like, how are you so nice in the lobbying space? And I was like, Mindy, Terri is like the more extreme version of me. She's so nice, so funny, so kind, like so always together. Like, it's just so fun to also, you know, we share a name, and that's not by default. You know, Terri means one of harvest. And so that was how I got to the name of Rebirth. And I feel like my concussion, which happened in 2019, which also was a pivotal moment for you, was one of my many rebirths. But it's just so nice to know that we do life not walking alone. You know, even though we can be an introvert, even though we know we might be different and not like follow a crowd, that there are like-minded spirits and souls that are nearby walking with us. So thank you for your heart, your acts of service. Ethel is smiling right now too. I've had so much fun talking to you, and I know everyone listening is too.
Thank you. Until next time.
Yes, so next time. Don't forget to subscribe and follow this podcast. You can find me at all things Terri Broussard Williams and movementmakercollective.com. Hey, y'all, hey. Now you know all this stuff, but before I go, a reminder, the content shared on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. Okay, that's right. I am no professional. If you need a medical, mental health, or other professional support, please consult a qualified expert. Till next time, I'm cheering you on.